Everybody, Index Card a Day 2017 with me, Creative Katie. Card 52. I wasn't feeling the prompt adjective, so I went another way and I got inspiration from an ATC that was sitting on my desk. I like the colors, I like the stencil that I used, and so I utilized some of those components to get me going and to give me inspiration. Here's that ATC. Enjoy the process video. So I'm starting with the gesso card, and I got out my Inktense blocks, and I'm going to stick in the yellows, oranges, and red zone. So I'm just grabbing out about 4 different colors, and I just scribble it onto the gessoed surface, the different colors. I don't have any pattern in mind. I just want, to have different colors throughout this card. Then I decide that instead of activating this with water, I'm going to activate it with my matte fluid medium. So I'm just dipping my finger in the gel medium and then activating the Inktense block. Now the Inktense blocks are supposed to be permanent when dry, but often they have a very, very matte finish. It has, and a kind of a bit of a chalky finish. This got rid of that. So I'm just kind of playing with it. You kind of need different fingers. I think I should have started with the lightest color and then moved up to make sure that I didn't lose any of the yellow. So when I'm kind of at a standstill, and it's getting a little bit tacky, I decide I'm going to give this a good dry. Now, I'd like to thank somebody for this idea. Someone had mentioned that they used their gel mediums or fluid mediums with the Inktense blocks to activate them. And on my Facebook group, All Things Mixed Media Creative Katie. I don't remember who that was, but it got me to think and to do this. And I really like this effect. If you believe it, it makes the Inktense colors even more intense than they are. So it's definitely something that I will continue doing in the future. Now you could scrape the crayons or the blocks into the gel medium and dissolve it, or into the fluid medium, or do it this way. But I wanted a very free-flowing kind of background, so this worked for me. So I'm making sure that this is dry. Then I decide I'm going to get out my script stamp and add some visual texture and interest. And I grab my black, and just as I'm about to get it out, I'm going, you know what? I don't think I'm going to go with black here. I'm going to go with white. And I'm just applying the white acrylic paint. And this was craft paint, not even my Electrotex Basics, this was handy, onto the stencil with a makeup sponge, and then stamping it onto the card. And you can see how lovely that is. I absolutely love my script stamp. It's one of my first background stamps, and it's one of my most used stamps. I'm looking for a bigger script, but if you're starting out, I highly recommend getting a script stamp. And I'll put a link to some script stamps. If I can find this one, I'll put it to this one. Or if I find other ones, I'll put that in the description box for you. So giving that a dry. Now I grabbed this stencil, and I have another stencil that's kind of the opposite of this. And it's called Interlocking Circles. Now I looked and I could not find a stencil that was similar to this on Amazon. If you find one, please leave it in the comment below. This one I got at Walmart, and there was a set of, I think, 6 or 8 stencils, 3 sheets of it. I've now cut them into things for storage purposes. So I'm just using a felt applicator and my Dilutions paint in the pomegranate seed. Love that color. And now just edging it. And we're back. There's lots of layers and interest on this card. So I grabbed my Sakura Jelly Roll Pan in gold, and I'm just doodling inside the petals. I'm not trying to go outline them. I want to be inside and just doodle them. And of course, I'm not going to bore you by showing you the whole thing, but you can see that that just picks up and adds another dimension to the stenciling that we've done. Not to mention that little bit of shimmer. Now this little tag I punched with my friend Yvonne's punch. She had a tag punch, and I just had it sitting in my stash. It was used to mop up paint, and I decided that I am going to put some flexible modeling paste through that same stencil onto the tag, and then layer this tag onto my ICAD. And I got this idea when it came to, okay, now I have this lovely background. What am I going to do next? You know, how am I going to put a focal point on here? And my background is fairly busy and bright. So I thought maybe if I add the white flexible modeling paste, that will brighten it up, and then I can put a focal point on top of that. You'll see what I did. So after cleaning everything up and washing off the stencil, you know, I look at it and I'm going, yeah, that wasn't in my mind. So I grabbed my Artist Loft woodless charcoal. This is a new purchase, and I'm absolutely loving it. It goes on so quick and easy. So I'm edging both things. I'm thinking that's enough, but I'm not happy with the white. So I grab my black, and again I start with the black paint, and you know, then I think, oh, you know what, I'm going to use my black gesso. Now I don't know if it made any difference. You could probably get the same effect with the black paint. I just had the gesso a little bit more accessible than the tube. I'm kind of running out of the black paint. So I give this a good coat of black gesso and giving it a quick dry. Now you can see, in real life anyways, the texture that's there. And I'm thinking, okay, is that enough? Do I just want to have that texture that kind of mirrors what's in the background, or do I need to do more? So I grab my Liquitex Basics. This is copper, I believe. And I'm getting it just in the palm or the pad of my finger, and I'm rubbing this very lightly over the high spots. And this just was so yummy. Turned out so well. Kind of made it look like metal. I giggle now because I had no idea where I was going to go with this card. I had no focal point in my mind. I had, you know, nothing. I was just kind of in a creative slump, and I just was trying to force myself to get out paints and get out colors and do something, because inevitably, as it did here, I find I just get hooked, and then the creative ideas start flowing again. So I'm just going along around there with the dashes, and again, doing the doodling that I did here was something that I experimented on the ATC. People ask, why do you do tags? Why do you do ATCs? What do you do with them? A lot of times I've used them as inspiration for canvases, for bigger pages. It may be the color scheme, it may be some doodling that I do, it may be a technique, what have you. They are a source of inspiration for me. And, you know, on a day like today when I'm struggling, it just comes in handy. Gives you a starting point. So I'm really liking the addition of the black here. And I continue on with the black, and I'm really liking the layering effect. Now, layering papers on top of my journal pages is not something, you know, and different additions and embellishments isn't something that I typically do. I watch other people do it. I like it when I see it, but it's not something I do. So today I gave it a try, and I'm really liking how this turns out. So I had the idea of using the stylus to put some black, I think I'm just using black gesso because that's what was close and handy. And yes, I did miss some of the dots, and I will come back and do all those dots. When you put paint on with the stylus, you need to give it lots of time to dry so that you don't smudge it. Also, if you don't have a stylus, you can use the end of a paintbrush or tip of the pencil, what have you. So I'm just gluing this on with my gel medium. And I don't put any gel medium on top because I don't want the shine of the copper to disappear. Now, this dragonfly was in my stash, and it is the perfect color for this background. Perfect match. And it was kind of the reason why I wanted to have something darker so that we could see this dragonfly. So I grab my Just Sayings, and I had the one that said Journey, and I thought, okay, that's fitting. That goes. And I just put it on with some gel medium. And make sure that's dry before I edge it first with the charcoal and then with a micron pen. I just felt that it needed to be kind of grunged up just a bit to fit the overall. So this card ended up being really bright and warm and just lovely, full of visual and physical texture. I like the idea of layering. It's something I'm going to have to play with a little bit more. Here are some close-ups. I took some pictures of the background as I was proceeding, so you can kind of compare, you know, beginning, middle, and end, how that changed and whether you would have added that. You know, you could stop at every step, but every layer just adds that one more bit of interest. So don't be afraid to play.